All right, well, we are nearing the end of the year, end of the gardening season, I suppose. And wife's done some gardening videos, but she's been spending a lot of time and effort outside. And sometimes she likes things and notices things that are different than what I do. So I just wanted to kind of go around and talk about some things that I found were interesting for this year, kind of like the themes of this year's garden. So let's do a husband tour. Let's go ahead and grab a cup of coffee and let's go. It takes longer, but it's worth it. Almost there. Almost. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's go. All right, so the first thing that I definitely noticed as a theme of this year is that I called it the year of the bees. Now, it's pretty funny because I just walked out here to get set up and, like, I guess it's too early. I haven't really seen very many bees today, but these plants in particular have been just absolutely covered in bumblebees every single day of the year. And that kind of threw me because, for one, I was surprised that these plants actually like would stay in bloom that long for the bees to come around. Oh, look, there's one. See, they're always around here. So yeah, there's two, three, lots of bees. So they would be covered or covering this plant the entire day, and it would just be buzzing around. And I just thought that that was so neat. Like, we've always had bees and pollinators and stuff like that, but this year it just seemed like they were everywhere. And the other neat thing was that, sometimes I'll be working out on our patio and doing things like that, so I'll spend a lot of time at the table. And these same purple plants are on the other side as well. And there's flowers on the other side too. And it kind of created this thing that I called like bee highway, which was like right here. It's kind of on this side of the patio and then the other side of the patio. So as I'm at the table, there would just be bumblebees flying by. You would just have, two or three of them just kind of buzzing you between, one side and the other. And they just didn't really care. They didn't care that I was there. Sometimes they would stop. There would be a, like a flower pot in the middle of the table. Sometimes they would stop there and kind of check it out. But they would just kind of always go back and forth. So that was really neat this year too. Since there were so many of them, I ended up paying attention as well to kind of like how they gathered like the pollen and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just never really paid attention. I thought that that was really neat too. Like, for sometimes with these plants, they'll just kind of, they'll do the normal thing you would think of. They'll just kind of walk around and just kind of get into all the little tiny ones. But then you would have, maybe bigger trumpet looking plants where they go into the whole thing and then they have to come back out. And then they would have other plants where, actually kind of like these ones right here. With these ones, they would do what I would call like body surfing. So they would kind of like land on here and then they would just kind of like really quickly just kind of go like, and they would just kind of like scurry over the whole thing. And that's how they get the pollen from these ones. I don't think we have any examples right now, but there would be other flowers that they would go to, and they would kind of like go to the plant, but then I guess they would kind of like shake off the pollen or something like that, because you'd hear them go on the thing, and they would just kind of like go like zzz, zzz, zzz. And so I just thought that that was so neat to pay attention to the bees this year and just kind of see them do so much work. They're very driven. They don't really care about a whole lot at all, except for flower pollen. Another thing that I find unusual this year is these things. No idea what they are. I'm glad we've had a pretty mild weather season, because if it got really windy and we needed to try to shut the greenhouse doors, it would have been really, really difficult. But these things are just giant, and they don't seem to care about anything. We have shut the doors on them a few times, didn't care. just massive. They're almost as big as our sunflowers. Absolutely ridiculous. That guy didn't make it. I didn't really have a plan for this tour, so one thing that we did have is that we did these new beds, and they worked out really well. They're nice. They're tall. They make so it's they make it so that it's easier to kind of work around them and stuff like that. So those worked out pretty well. But then we also had what we call the Enforcer, which is it's a deer scaring thing, and we're pretty sure that it worked out really well one night because we have this nice little dent in it right here, which this was not here to begin with, and suddenly it was there. And the only guess that we have is that one of the deer got scared, ran straight into it, and had a really rough day. This archway here is one of the coolest things. I'm actually gonna change my zoom level here because it's just so neat to go in here, and it's just covered with plants. You have stuff hanging down from everywhere. Like right now, we have some of these tomatoes that are hanging out. You have some of these things, which are also super weird. Look at these things. They're like little teardrop pear looking things. Crazy. But it's just covered with stuff, and it's hard to explain from video, but it's very kind of calming in a way to be in here. I don't really know how to describe it. It's very relaxing to be in here. Another bee, by the way. Although right now there's so much vegetation around here, it smells like a garden, or not like a garden, it smells like a salad. Very weird. But yeah, if you're in there, it's just like everything it dampens the sound. It just kind of makes you feel like you're in this little tunnel. It's just so neat. And all the tomatoes in here. There's so many tomatoes. Like, they're everywhere. You know, my wife will go out and she'll just walk outside with a basket and come in with a basket full of stuff, and a ton of it ends up being tomatoes. These peppers are really cool this year. I don't think it's the first year we've had them, but they're very interesting because they just like change colors. So right now they're kind of like red, but they used to be purple, and they were yellow for a while. Just like the different colors that they were really, really neat. Yes, we got some peppers. They're a little wilty, which I'm pretty sure is good for peppers because it makes them taste better. So stress makes for more flavor, I've heard. So sorry for your luck, but you're gonna be delicious. So here's something that made me realize that our garden has really changed over the years, and sometimes I don't really notice that so much, but the butterfly bush that's back here, this used to be the star of the garden. Like, it used to be as big as anything. All the butterflies would come around, all the pollinators would go to it, and they still do. You know, my wife's just planted so much more stuff that this just kind of blends in more. It's not really like a star of the show anymore, which is totally fine. But yeah, it used to be the showpiece of the garden. You know, same thing with our Japanese maple here. You know, those two together used to be kind of like the staples of the garden. But now there's just, you know, these ones here, all this other stuff. It's just sometimes we go through and watch the videos of the old gardens, which is why we like to make these videos, and it's quite striking because we'll be like, this thing will be completely barren, or it won't have the garden beds, or it won't have anything, and we'll be like, wow, how long ago was that? And we'll be like, oh, that was like 2 years. And we're like, oh. Sometimes it's interesting to look back and things change. So this front garden, it's more of a wild garden. And we've talked about that sometimes, where I'm like, I think you always like to have a more wild garden, and that's what this one is. It's gotten a little too wild, perhaps. You know, so we have like this little piece of rope that's keeping some of the plants away from the sidewalk. But I am slightly concerned someday that a delivery person might come in and they'll just get lost in the forest. So side garden here is also very wild. Actually, it's so wild. Like, look at this. You have all these plants or all these flowers everywhere. This is not the vegetable garden, but what is this? I'm pretty sure this is kale. Why is there kale here? We don't even eat kale for one. Kind of looks interesting, but why? Why is there kale in the side garden? Another thing that has happened to us is that we've had a ton of bunnies this year. They haven't really done a lot of damage, but like here is one of the most recent nests for them. It's probably hard to see. I'm a little bit surprised that I don't have any friends with me out here today, just kind of hopping around eating the lawn. But yeah, we've had a lot of rabbits this year. Doesn't make everyone happy, but it does kind of make us happy. Just having a rabbit just chilling out in the lawn, eating the clover, not caring that we're here. We chase them sometimes just to like get them away from something, but for the most part, they don't care. I don't think any of the animals here around here actually care about us. We exist, they exist. Speaking of animals, actually, another thing that has really struck me this year is you can't really catch them on video very often. Oh, really? After I stopped speaking about the bunnies, I was just talking about you. Thanks for showing up. Oh, look, yep, he's eating some grass. Hope it's yummy. It's probably yummy. They would be more excited if there was clover flowers. Also doesn't care about me at all. So anyway, like I was trying to say, speaking of the animals and things like that, one thing that we've had this year that I don't recall us having before was we have hummingbirds. I've never really seen hummingbirds just hang around without a hummingbird feeder, and we don't have a hummingbird feeder. They just really love a lot of the plants, especially the flowers that have been over here. They just love them. So I've never seen a hummingbird without a feeder. And I've also never seen more than one hummingbird at a time. You're still hanging out. Still just hanging out with me. Anyway, I've never seen more than one hummingbird at a time. And we have those. We have like a whole like family of hummingbirds that just hang around. And I've also never seen a hummingbird just hanging out. And what they'll do is they'll land on a lot of stuff. Like they'll land on these trellises and they'll just hang out there. And also, they'll land on our tree up here, and so they'll hang out up on the tree. And I thought that was just the coolest thing. That hummingbirds usually just fly through. You'll see them for just a few seconds, but these ones will just hang out, and they'll just hang out with us in the garden, for minutes at a time, even longer. Sometimes they'll just hang out forever. Also, I learned what a hummingbird sounds like, which is not what I thought a hummingbird sounded like at all. I can't even really mimic it. I say it sounds like a chipmunk, or I guess it sounds like it sounds like a squirrel. And so now when I hear them, I know what that is. I've probably heard them before and didn't even really notice. But anyway, that is amongst one of the coolest things that's happened this year. Well, I think that's probably about it for me. I think I'm going to go hang out in my tunnel. I just wanted to kind of point out a few things that I found really striking in the garden this year. So, thanks for watching.